Hello.
Hi, week 38.
38 weeks.
I just looked and then I had to look again just to make sure, even though I knew. Second guessing
Is it
myself.
190?
90. Yep.
190 episodes.
And I had a bit of a prediction come true, but I'm sorry to say that Guthrie's dead.
Guthrie's dead.
Maggie
I
called.
liked Guthrie.
I know. Maggie called Joe at the Blue Whale and he was chatting with Burke and then he found out that he had died pretty much instantly, they said, in flames and the. So that's sad.
Yeah.
So off they
Maybe he'll
go.
be back as a ghost.
There's potential for that.
Happens.
So off they go to the old house to tell everyone that he's died.
Yeah,
They don't want.
They're all waiting for their seance to start.
They don't want David to hear, so Burke has Joe go on a little tour with him, and then he tells them, and Sam, or Vicky says,
Tour of the house. Yeah, he
of the old
asks
house,
David to give him a tour of the old house. Show him around.
Vicky wants to still try the seance, but Sam gets all like freaked out and scared and doesn't want to do it because of everything that's happening. And but Burke convinces him to do it for David anyway. So they do, and little David Radcliffe speaks through our David.
Right.
And tells him that there will be a fire at a little house or small house by the sea, and somebody will die. So that's disturbing. But obviously, our conclusion is that it would be David if someone was going to die. So I think that's what they're thinking as well. So Burke and Roger decide to kind of call a truce to try and save David, and they come up with a plan for him to go to a fishing cabin for a few days with Burke to get him away until Laura is gone. Roger's going to tell Laura to leave.
He was all excited about that.
Yes,
he didn't want to. He didn't want to at first. It's gonna be muskie. He was excited about muskies.
Right.
You get to like land on go on a seaplane and stuff. It's the only way you can get there.
Yeah, so he was really excited then and wanted to go, and so that was the plan, that we're gonna get him out of there, and then he would be safe. And Roger, he just couldn't like wait to tell Laura, like, okay. Vicky wanted him to wait till the next day so that she wasn't onto anything and wait until David had gone, but he wanted to go right away, so he goes down there. And she's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'll leave tomorrow morning. You can put me on a bus yourself. He didn't
even tell her to leave. She said it before he even said anything. She's like, well, just so you know, I'm leaving in the morning.
Everyone's against me or whatever, and I have nothing left here. So she's leaving without David, without a fight. Yeah, right.
Still making creepy faces when no one was looking. So.
Yeah. She's pretty good at that.
Yep.
And then Burke doesn't quite believe it either, so he goes to chat with her and make sure she's leaving, and they kind of say their goodbyes. And
she convinces him. She sheds some tears, and he buys it. And damn you, Burke.
And then Vicky's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stay with David all night because I don't believe that." Oh, she discovers that it's the same date.
Right. Today. In the newspaper, it said, because it said it had happened last night. And so last night's date from the newspaper was that day, 100 years ago that day. So she's like, something's gonna happen tonight. So she has to go up and
stay there. But what she does is locks the door and then goes and talks to everybody else, which gives Laura opportunity to appear in David's room.
Right, because she can teleport.
And convince him that
no one knows that, I guess.
Right, that's true. Convince him that he needs to go with her instead of with Burke, and to meet her at the fishing cabin at 11 o'clock the next night.
Right.
So he's like, oh, but I wanted to go fishing. But she's like, oh, well, it'll be...
We can go fishing.
Yeah, so...
Where, in Phoenix?
And then Vicky comes to spend the night beside his bed, and nothing happens. And so they're kind of satisfied that the date has passed and the danger is passed a little bit, I guess.
But they still want to make sure that Laura gets on the bus, and Roger takes her there and makes sure that she gets on the bus and drives away.
I feel like Vicky and Joe are a little uncertain about things being solidified, and Burke and Roger seem a bit more like, no, the date's passed and we're good to go. So.
Until Joe kind of realizes something when he was talking about how he didn't sleep last night, and he was up last night at 3 a.m. and then he's like, wait a minute. Last night at 3 a.m., that article said last night, but it probably meant
the next day. So
after midnight. So it's today's date. So then they realized it's today that's going to happen. And he was convinced of that. And Vicky was convinced of that. And everyone was, I guess, eventually. So
yeah. So then they're worried about this date. But before that, Vicky decides to go for dinner with Burke. He takes David out for fishing for the day just to give
Right.
Vicky a rest because she didn't get any sleep the night before. And then Vicky goes for dinner with Burke, and she finally kind of gets her mind off of it until Joe comes in and tells her about the date.
Yes.
So, and Johnson's being very strict. She's watching David while they're away, and she's been very strict, and she's blocking him from leaving, and he's trying all the things that he can to get her to leave as it's getting closer and closer to 11. But she's not having any of it until Vicky freaks out and calls from the Blue Whale. And so
ruins everything.
Johnson goes. We don't see how he leaves. Like, we don't see him leave out the front door or anything behind her on the stairs. But he's got lots of ways. He knows his way around. So he leaves somehow.
He can maybe get out that back through the closed off wing or something,
maybe,
or maybe climbed out his window with tied his rope into an escape rope, or tied his blankets into an escape rope, and I don't know, who knows.
Anyway, so Johnson goes up and she assures Vicky everything's fine, but then she goes up to check on him and he's gone.
He's gone, vanished.
So they all end up back at the house, and
if he's half Phoenix, he can teleport like his mom, so he can half teleport.
Half teleport.
His clothes were left behind. You got halfway there. Yes.
So Vicky, Joe, and Burke all end up back at the house at Johnson, and they kind of remember about the little house by the sea, so they go to Laura's cottage.
They go to Laura's cottage, they go to the old house, they go to the greenhouse.
Yeah, and then finally they realize it's the fishing cabin. They go there, but David's hiding in a little crate, and they don't think to look around, so that was... Oh, Joe thinks he hears something for a minute, and then... Nope, so they go off to the beach to check, and
yes.
And Vicky calls the bus company to see if maybe Laura got off somewhere, but it turns out that she just disappeared off the bus.
Yep. She was there, and then she wasn't there.
So
sat down next to an old lady, and the old lady fell asleep, and when she woke up, Laura was gone.
And they hadn't stopped anywhere. So, and then she appears to David in the fishing cabin, and he's cold and wants to go, and so she's like, "Here, have the lantern, look into the fire." So he does, and then he starts to get...
His hands get
tired,
numb, and
his hands get
tired,
numb, and he drops the lantern, and then the fire's going, and Vicky gets what, Josette vision? Is that what we're calling it?
Josette vision, yes. It's like this blurry effect they do on the camera. It's showing that Josette's presence is there, guiding Vicky.
So Vicky figures out that it's the fishing cabin, so hopefully she's on her way there, because the fire is getting bigger, and David's like, we need to go, and Laura's like, no, we're not going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
He's dead.
So he's probably dead already.
He's probably dead.
They're just killing off everyone.
Yep.
So I predicted before 3 weeks, and then it was 2. So we got 1 more week in my prediction for this Laura theme to go.
Yes.
So
do you think it'll last another week, or do you think we'll wrap it up before the end of the week, or do you think it'll...
I think it'll be wrapped up.
Stretch on for months and months.
I don't know. I'm feeling like they could get another 2 weeks out of it, but I'd be surprised if they didn't wrap it up by the end of the week mostly. So I don't know what they're moving on to.
Right. What else? What's left to happen?
They got to find David and somehow destroy Laura.
Destroy her?
Well, defeat her.
With what?
Put out her fire. They just need to put out the fire.
Yes, when they went back to the cabin, they knew that she had been there because the fire was going still. So just put it out.
Yeah, just throw some water on it,
That's
guys.
her energy, apparently.
Something that feeds her. So anyway, I don't really have any predictions except for I think Vicky will go down there and somehow save David, and they'll somehow defeat Laura and get rid of her.
So what?
It's a big prediction, but
yeah. And what do you think? How long do you think this is going to last?
To the end of the week.
The end of this week?
Yeah.
Coming up?
Yeah.
And then what?
Back to the murder case or the
manslaughter.
The manslaughter.
And, yeah. Vicky go back to Vicky wondering, thinking that everyone's hiding, that she's her secret identity.
Who knows? What about you?
No, I don't know. Nothing. I got nothing.
Nothing. No. All right. See you next week.
Bye.